Live. This is the weekly podcast that covers music production, news and events, including what's going on in the rock and guitar worlds, as well as some nerdy technical talk about computers and such that relate to what we do at our recording studio. This is Hot Pole Studios, coming to you live from Manchester, England and from California. I'm your host Adam Steele, and joining me this week is Mr. John McLucas, ladies and gentlemen. And this is...
That was such a hype intro.
Yeah, and this is the Hot Pole Position.
Woo! Dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we've connected on the internet and even had a brief moment in the NAMM chaos to see each other in the face, and now we're here. What a wild ride.
Yes, indeed. It's been a crazy week and a half. So the last time that I saw all our viewers was on the Thursday of NAMM, when we just got there and not a lot had happened. And yeah, it was awesome that we actually managed to get a podcast out, because I tell you what, by the Saturday, if we'd tried that, that would not have happened. The everything, the Wi-Fi, the people, everything was just full. So yeah, thank you so much, John, for coming on this week. Liam is ill with NAMMthrax, which you should definitely go and check out John's channel, because he made a hilarious rap a couple of weeks ago that it was all about NAMMthrax. And I saw it and it just made me grin ear to ear. So I thought that was absolutely great.
Thanks, man.
How was your NAMM?
It was like a beautiful, organized thunderstorm of chaos, but like perseverance. So I've been doing some stuff with Warren Hewitt and Produce Like a Pro. So I was also in charge of coordinating the, just kind of making sure that NAMM happens, that it happens efficiently, that, because obviously there's a lot of meetings to be had. There's a lot of people who want to have a conversation. So like, who wants to talk? When do they want to talk? Okay, we got meetings to fit in. Like, we got to run over here. We got to run over there. Oh, somebody wants to do something. So like a lot of chaos, but I'm super happy with how it turned out. And I heard from the team that this was like the most organized and well executed NAMM that they've been to. So, I'm happy that I was able to kind of help make it happen amidst the thunderstorm, if you will.
Yeah, I tell you what, I saw you briefly because I had a meeting with Warren, by which time he was full of NAMMthrax, which made things a little tricky because he was just there like, yeah, man. But seeing you there, you were organizing it like someone like organizing a cabinet meeting in the White House. It was awesome to behold.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's I think one of my strengths, like outside of obviously the creative end, is I think I've been blessed with the discipline of organization, and like I enjoy it. Like it makes me, there's some weird joy I find in like, a nice plan. It feels good. Things are organized. Like I know what to do tomorrow. So it's really fun because this is kind of a new challenge for me. I'm doing stuff with them and then just kind of getting thrown right into the abyss that is NAMM. So it was a great challenge, and really happy with how it did. We had so many great conversations, like meeting people like you and so many people that you like will never ever meet, besides this one event. Yeah. So of course that's the biggest benefit of the entire thing, and it was a really, really good time.
Funny thing that you do meet all these people, and one of the guys I met was the I think it was the CEO of NEV. NEV, NEV, they're pretty awesome, but their factory is, no word of a lie, about 15 miles from my house. Yeah.
What?
But it never would have been one of those, I'm just going to rock up and knock on the door and say hi kind of things. Because they would have been like, well, who are you? But at NAMM, you're all expected to be there for the right reasons, so people are open to the conversations. And I think that's really cool. Did you notice that there were nearly 120,000 people there and not a single member of the public? Every person there had to have a badge.
No, that's amazing. I think that's why they closed it off to the public. Like, yeah. I don't know how they could let the public in and not have it be a fire hazard. It already feels like a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Like you think Saturday afternoon, what that would look like if there was some like emergency we had to clear out. Like, there's no way. We're sardines in a can almost at like the peak hours of all this stuff. But you're right. It's so amazing that every single person there is hungry about music, or like has a thing that they're excited about, and people they want to meet and things they want to learn, and all this kind of stuff converges. It has an energy that makes me excited to to just be there. Oh my goodness, and to soak it all in. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better 4 days. It was a great time.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but it definitely took me a little while to settle into it. This is what I was saying to John just before the stream, is that I got on the show floor Thursday morning, hit the ground running, and was confident, ready, had Liam on camera by my side, and our marketing manager Charlie. Everything was good. I was ready. And then I saw the JHS booth, and I've been watching the JHS pedal show, and I walked up to him with a microphone, and I pretty much just went, I'm a real big fan, and then walked off afterwards going, what was that? Where did that come from? Because at this point, I've done some interviews with some fairly well-known people. I don't tend to get starstruck. What was that? It was just kind of funny.
Weird. It's weird to feel like the emotion, because you feel such a tie to these people, because you spend a lot of time with them, even if it's digitally. They end up playing a role in your life. It's crazy but that's kind of a symptom of the internet, you know?
Yeah. Maybe it's just one of those things that, Josh Scott, he's about 6'5". He's quite an intimidating man to begin with. He's this big ball of energy that's the size of a Yeti. But then it seems like a lot of people who do really well are tall. I wonder if there's some correlation there. You ever watch That Pedal Show?
No, because I'll say this, because I'm primarily not a guitarist.
Right.
I don't have as much of the sexy allure to those kinds of programs, but I know plenty of people that do.
Right. It's one of the, well, I suppose you may not know them, but it's still a good example anyway. That last year at the Birmingham Guitar Show, the UK Guitar Show, I met Mick from That Pedal Show, and I think because we're much more similar, we're, typically British, quite reserved, didn't fanboy out, just had a nice chat, and then hopefully I'll see them again this year at the Birmingham Guitar Show. I'm going to try and be there if anyone's interested, because it's much easier to get to for me than California, I can tell you that. And it'll be strange to see who's there and recognise and then go, didn't I see you in California? Why are you... Oh, hang on, what? But, yeah, anyway.
That's the beauty of it, yeah.
Getting real off track. So, aside from working with Produce Like a Pro, did you get to be on the show floor at all? Did you get to see anything that were your favourites, highlights?
Well, we did have a lot of meetings. So we had, kind of by proxy, we walked through the NAMM floor a lot, going to and fro different halls and this place and that place to do all of our stuff. So we did get some time to kind of check out new gear. I think there's definitely some things that caught at least my attention. At least, I know obviously you're in the pro audio space, and everything that I started nerding out on was definitely pro audio.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you were really interested in the ACC North building, was it, where all the microphone manufacturers, all the monitor guys were?
That was a large chunk of our time there was in that one hall, because that's where all of our friends are, that's where all of our homies are. But it was really cool. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the microphone space, to me at least.
Well, on that note, let's move on to talking about the news, because a lot of that, and the news articles that I've picked anyway, are to do with microphone manufacturers. So let's change screens to that one now. There we go. So, news article number 1. I don't know if you're pulling this up or you can see it on the YouTube stream there, John. Yep, you can see it.
I'm pulling it up on my phone that way.
Right.
There we go.
So, Austrian Audio. The news article here was the news article was that they just launched their first professional headphones that they call the High Excursion. I tried them on, and High Excursion headphones is weird. Excursion, how much the speakers go in and out, right? And then I was thinking, well, High Excursion, are they not going to hit your ears? And I tried them, and it almost got that way when it was loud, but not in a bad way. The speakers could really move in these headphones. But the thing that we were really talking to Austrian Audio about was their microphones. Hadn't seen them before. The OC818 was kind of the flagship. Don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, no, I know. We filmed with them for the videos.
Right. Yeah, the thing that really impressed me about their microphones. Yeah, sure, they look like similar to a lot of other microphones. These are made by the team that used to be AKG, but they've now been freed from their shackles and they can go and design whatever they like. And the thing that really impressed me with this 818 mic was it had like an extra socket on the back. And you could plug in like a wireless dongle and change the polar pattern remotely, but completely custom, so you could change how tight the cardioid was or anything like that. And that was really impressive. But then, secondly, there was another adapter that you could put in there in the back that was XLR. So you could actually record the two sides of the capsule separately and then change the polar pattern in post. Now that is something that's very, very clever.
There's not a lot of microphones. Like, I know Lewitt has a microphone that has a polar pattern shifting feature, but that to me was my favorite part. It's like, yeah, you can, like, you're getting two different sources and they're fully manipulatable, or you can take them together if you'd like. But yeah, the fact that you have so much flexibility with just that one added feature is like, it kind of, for me, like, notches it above the other microphones out there that are doing it. And not necessarily that any one is like worse or better, but just it's a new feature that is interesting to explore conceptually, like what that's going to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is the fact that you could change it in post. I've worked with microphones that can do that before, but they're very rare and very expensive. I worked with Soundfield microphones when I was doing my university thesis, which is really interesting now that the whole Dolby Atmos thing and height in sound is becoming a big deal. But you were expected to record 4 capsules, 3 figure eights and an Omni, and then process it later however you wanted, which is absolutely crazy. But
yeah,
even having the option here of the 2 capsules in a stereo mic that's a well-designed, nice-sounding stereo mic, that's a real game changer. And I think some people are going to say, oh, well, it's option paralysis, you've got too much that you can do in post-production. I disagree. I don't know about you, but what would you say?
I think it comes down to who's going to use it. I think I feel like for myself with these kinds of pieces of gear that are so like malleable, there's definitely a period where I felt analysis paralysis, if I may. Because it's like, what do I do with this? Like, I want to play with it forever, but I think what happens once we've I think for me, I've definitely hit this point where then eventually I'm more focusing on just like, I'm going to play around, find something I like, and then move on. So I think if you're creating with conviction, it's a really great tool because it just gives you a couple more flavors, and then you can play with it, find an answer. Okay, cool. I like how that sounds. And then you move on, instead of being so fixated on trying every single setting and then every single capsule, and then every combination. It's just one more spice in the spice rack, which, you can audition and then say, that's great. Or no, audition. Oh, no, just kidding. And then go on to the next one. Yeah. So that's how I do this stuff. Cause you can spend forever in just one plugin doing the same stuff.
Yeah. I'm very much the same actually. And it's something that a lot of people ask for advice on is, when do I know enough's enough? And I play with new toys until I find a sound I like, and very much the same, and then remember that and move on. But I really like having the option later to change things. But I'm one of those people where I'm 99% locked in. But if it just so happens, for example, I've got a vocal that sounds really nice, I get really nice sound. I'm a big believer in the Slate virtual microphone system, right? So
Same.
I lock in the microphone, the preamp, all that kind of stuff. Sounds great. Then what if I track loads of synths, loads of guitars, loads of stuff, and suddenly that vocal doesn't sit? Now I can just go back and go, the different microphone, different preamp, that's it, done. And it's taken me, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, instead of stressing over EQ and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for me. The
same reason.
Yeah, that's it. The option doesn't mean I should spend hours agonizing. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's so much easier. Oh, dude, also, I pulled up the actual live stream too. I love the visual layout of this.
Yeah,
it looks really cool.
We took the layout from GDQ, of all things. if you know games done quick.
Oh yeah, okay, GDQ, yeah.
Yeah, so the
I
browser
love
that
it.
we do. Yeah, so we've got the two of us or three of us down the side if it's a 3-person conversation. Yeah, so we did it so you can nice and efficiently. You know that we're talking, we're live, but most of the screen is the news. But then when we've not got the news up, it's a whole different view where it's mostly us. And
Love it.
I've had
Love
to
it. All right.
paste over Liam's name this week. So let's move on. So from one microphone company to another, Aston microphones. Have you seen their stealth mic? Looks kind of like a big
Wait,
long
Aston.
black
Oh,
tin
there
of
we
baked
go.
beans.
Yeah.
So I've tried one and they're really, really good, and I'm hoping to do a full review at some point. They won the Tech Award for the microphone for this. And so, yeah, congratulations to Aston, because they're not just a nominee, they need to update that. They won.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they should update that.
Yeah. I'm imagining they've still got huge hangovers, because I went to see them on the Sunday morning, and James, the CEO, he had his shades on, he was in the corner being very quiet. The rest of them were
Saturday night at NAMM is
yeah.
a good time.
Saturday night
Yeah.
at NAMM was a winner as well. Whoa.
So this is, if I'm reading it correctly, it's like you're saying it has 4 voices, so like 4 separate outputs?
Not 4 separate outputs. It's really directional. Imagine an SM7B, but with like a 40 dB cloud lifter inbuilt, and with different voices. So one that's like a ribbon, one that's more like an SM57, one that's got a presence peak for male, and one that's got a different one for female. So it works really, really well, and it's really good at rejecting everything off axis. And something that I noticed talking to the guys at the Aston stand, I tried to change the voicing at the bottom, and it wouldn't let me. And it turns out that's a safety feature. You have to hold it in a certain way, so that if you've got an artist who grabs the microphone, they can't accidentally screw things up.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's it. I was thinking, why isn't this working? And then they went, aha. And I love stuff like that because it's so engineer friendly.
Yes. I think we always need stuff that can kind of make sure people aren't, there's no accidents, because, you know, one misplaced hand on a desk, or, you know, they just kind of start tinkering with something without knowing, and then it's like, it's all, you know, and then it's just a real bad day. So
yeah. Well, it's these kinds of issues which are why the next news article, which is a 2 notes, their Captor X is the new product. That's why I love using stuff like this on stage. This is their new load box, but with inbuilt cab sim, all in the same box. And
I've been waiting for this for a while.
Yeah, well, it's funny that I'll definitely be reviewing one, but it just so happens that I have all the separate pieces already, because I've got the original Captor, I've got a Cab M, I've got an old torpedo cab. So, I mean, this has got a couple of new features that aren't there on the Cab M, which is really cool. But if I didn't have any of the stuff, I would definitely go out and buy one of these straight away. The 2 notes booth, they had a Marshall 100-watt head and cab on the stand. And I swear the master was on 10. And it was entirely reasonable. And I don't know if you've ever stood near a vintage Marshall amp on full. But, my God, it's, your ears don't survive. They just don't.
Wow.
That's why guys like the singer from AC/DC had to retire 2 years ago, because he couldn't hear anything anymore. Because he stood in front of these guitar stacks every night. And AC/DC are not the kind of band to have attenuators. So.
Nope. They are, dang. Yeah, no, I didn't know that they even had that at their booth. But I love that it's like, looks like it comes with like apps, stuff you're doing on your phone, and
yeah, it does. Yeah,
like a really modern thing. I've heard sound demos of the torpedo stuff and absolutely loved it. Yeah, dude, I love that you already own it, but then you can just do the review of the actual concise product.
Yeah,
have it.
Well, that's it. But there are some
all 4 of their products together.
There's some new features as well that will appeal to people who don't want to really nerd out like me, because I can go right into the settings. I'm that kind of nerd where I can go right in. I'm that much of a nerd that a few years ago I sent an email to the CEO of Two Notes, Guillaume, saying, "Hey, I've got these really nice cabs, like from Zilla, which is all handmade in the UK." And I was like, "Well, how do I get these into the Two Notes software?" And then his reply was, "Well, you'll have to be a business to work with us." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a business." So it just so happened from that now I've got like 40 different guitar cabinets on the Two Notes store. It's become a real big thing for us.
Super cool.
Yeah, but it just so happened that being the kind of nerd where I was like, "Hey, I want to do this," it was just a genuine curiosity and just ended up as a whole business venture, which is typically me in a way. But yeah, I mean,
hey, you don't build everything you built without having that kind of approach to it.
Absolutely. I mean, but when that was the thing, it was either you had to buy the Torpedo Live, which was well over €1,000. I think it was something like $1,500, or you had to use the software. So I ended up using the software. But since then, we've got far more affordable pieces of gear. Like, I mean, I think this was $550 for this thing, which has all of the technology of the older units for a third of the price. That's crazy. And I mean,
wow.
if you're spending $2,000 on your guitar head, what's an extra $550 to be able to use it live without killing everybody and get a great sound?
That's a dream, man.
Yeah.
Like the attenuation stuff in the live application is like anything to bring the stage volume down is going to make your live show sound so much better.
Well, that's it. Like, I do quite a lot of live sound work still. That I run the live sound for a venue in the town where I live. They're only open like Friday and Saturdays. But a lot of the time I'll get a guitarist with a 412 stack on stage and it kills things. But if I've got like now I just take my Torpedo captor and whoever the loudest guitarist is, I just wire that in and then they suddenly go, "Oh, that sounds really good." I'm like, "Yeah, I wonder why."
My stage volume, bruh.
Yeah, it's like now we can hear you all. And now we've got this wonderful 10,000 watt PA system that we can use properly. There we go. But these guys, they're not thinking that. A lot of the bands that I work with, they're so used to playing in small bars, though. You know, it's like 50 people capacity. And then they come to a venue where there's...
Your amp is the sound.
Yeah, right. And I'm used to working in venues that are like minimum 300-400 capacity, where you've at least got a good PA system. And it makes such a difference when you're not being blasted in the face.
Yeah, nobody has a good time.
The other one that I get from guitarists so much is, "Oh, there's no treble in my sound," where they've got their amp next to their ankles, tickling their trousers. It's like, yeah, there's no treble because the treble's pointed over at the person in the front of the front of the crowd who's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next news article to take that one further is the Rev Amps G20. I don't know if you've seen the Rev Amps stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Rev are taking that to the next stage.
I can't go into a studio down here without seeing it.
Right. That's interesting with them being a Canadian company, that they're all over California. But they are the thing right now. Which, yeah, that's never going to be a bad thing. But yeah, the G20, these things are going to set the live world on fire, I think. This thing, they're $1,300. It's a real 20-watt valve amp, but if you unplug the speakers from the back, it doesn't go bang. It's got a load box. It's got the whole Two Notes thing in it. So you just plug an XLR in the back to front of house and go. That's insane. And it's got a clean channel, and it's got the thing that Rev are most famous for, which is the super high gain. They released an amp last year that was like this, but didn't have the high gain in, and I was looking at it going, hang on, this is what you're famous for. Where's the gain? And now they have delivered. Praise be to Rev.
It's the fact that they're providing you the option to go either route with the way that they're integrating the Torpedo. That is like, you can go hybrid. You can just go like a normal amp. Having that too for especially the tone snobs, if I may. that's like, that's their fantasy in a way.
Yeah.
To choose those, but not have to all be like profiles, all be tube based. So yeah, this is like a super cool thing to see.
Absolutely. I mean, the best thing for me about the G20 is that I demoed it on the show floor, and I'm a bass player by trade. That's what I do. I'm a session guy. I can play some guitar, but that's not me. I'm a tone freak, but that's being a producer. That's great because that means I can then get a great guitarist, sit them down, and go, keep playing. I'll get the tone. But I had this crazy idea before we flew into NAMM that I was going to create a song on the show floor. So I brought my laptop. This old laptop here, because my main laptop died last week. But still, I managed to get recording, and I got to the booth, and I tracked some programmed drums and a synth bass, tracked the bass myself, and then Sam from Intervals was working for Rev. He was on the booth, and what a guy he was, that he played the entire track that he'd never heard before within the space of an hour. But because the sound on the show floor was so noisy, I just had to put the headphones on while he played, try and get some sort of tone. Couldn't really hear what was going on, but I got what I thought was a decent tone. Stuck the headphones on Sam, and then off we went. And I've played it back since, and it sounds absolutely incredible. That's a testament to Rev. That I couldn't even really hear what I was doing, which a lot of guitarists, I would argue, are probably going to be in a similar position where they're stood in the wrong spot on the stage, or, they can't quite hear because the drummer during sound check is bashing away or whatever. Still sounded great. That's
where the tech and the ability of all this stuff should be. Like, you shouldn't have to screw around for a very long time anymore to get like a usable, at least 85% tone.
Yeah.
There's really no excuse, in my opinion, at this point.
Absolutely. That should just be the last little sprinkling on the top. Yeah. Like you say, but this thing's got a bright future, and I'm expecting to see the G20 in a lot of home studios, if not the bigger studios, which would probably have the big boy generator. So keep an eye out for these. Pre-order.
Also, I'm not texting everybody. I'm looking at the articles. This looks like I'm texting, because I'm like scrolling with my, it's like I'm doing a scroll thing, and I'm like, no, I promise I'm not. I'm just trying to remember who came out with the signature guitar this year.
Funnily, yeah. So that's the. Let's move from the G20 to we'll do the signature guitar one last. It's because from the G20, I just said that we recorded on the show floor. I used an Audient Evo 4, which isn't out yet. So the guys at Audient, they are amazing, and they were so kind that I went up to the booth and said, hey, you've got this new interface. It's not out yet. Have you got one? Can I borrow one? And I grabbed one and ran to the Reverend Two Notes booths with it and just recorded everything on the show floor. And their smart gain feature on the Evo, that's so good. I mean, have you seen these new Evo interfaces?
Yeah, we stopped by their booth to kind of talk about it. Dude, Smart Can thing's brilliant. I don't know why it hasn't existed sooner. It just makes sense.
Yeah, it's
for lack of a better word.
So clever. One of the things that really interests me is the Evo 8, which is going to be out later in the year, has 4 mic preamps, and they can all be run off the USB power with phantom power. That's never been done as far as I know. And
yeah, I think you're right.
Which means that I could take a laptop, no power source, and one of these and record 4 channels anywhere. Or
the future's crazy.
Yeah. One thing that I've done in the past is I've taken an iPad and a power brick and a kind of an adapter cable, and I've recorded with things like RME baby faces before, completely in the field because iPads are silent, right? But being able to do 4 phantom powered channels in the middle of nowhere with just a power brick and an Evo, that's going to be amazing.
That's super, super powerful.
Yeah, that's going to be really game changing for, like even experimental artists. I saw a video earlier in the year with Sylvia Massey recording drums in a nuclear steam tower. That was crazy. But imagine being able to do that just free of restrictions, because you don't need power, you don't need AC, you don't need anything. You can just turn up and go, guerrilla record and go again.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah. I mean, there is a reality in 5 to 8 years where most things will be powered off of the computer that it goes into. Like that's where technology is going. Like less cables, less being stuck to a plug socket, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In 10 to 15 years, it's insane. Like how much efficiency and how much we could be able to do. We could go into the forest and record a whole drum kit, 60 setup off of a laptop. Like, for maybe we'd have 4 to 8 hours of juice, but like that conceptually is a reality with where things are going.
Yeah. I mean, it's real clever stuff. And
I love it.
The smart gain thing as well. That I was thinking, I'm a professional engineer. I don't need smart gain. And then I was at the 2 Notes booth. It was so noisy. It was so chaotic. I couldn't quite make out what my levels were supposed to be, anything like that. I pressed the smart gain button. Sam started playing guitar, and then it was ready. And the gain levels were perfect. Played them back since. Everything's absolutely perfect. Plenty of headroom, but not crazy. And that for anyone who's not a professional recording engineer, that's going to be an absolute game changer to be able to go, how loud should I record? Green button, go.
Yep. Yeah, that's the future of it. Like, it's exciting. It just it puts less barriers between us and the people who want to make music.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
I think as soon as these are out, my recommendation for my small interface is probably going to change to this. I mean, I'm going to put it through its paces before I start qualifying that, because that's what I like to do. I won't just say, you should get this without testing, but by all accounts, I mean, I've got an ID4 interface. Where is it? Right here. And the only reason I'm not using the ID4 right now is I'm using a Sono, which is a little overkill for a podcast. But I'm probably going to be switching my recommendation out for the Evo 4. But stay tuned for that video, because I'm going to get my hands on one of those as soon as I can. And then...
it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I've got so many videos I've got to make, man. And this is going to be another one of them. But that is not a complaint. I'm so excited. And then, so last thing that was Guitar World, before there's anything that you wanted to talk about that you saw, was some of the new signature models. Because some of them fairly pedestrian, some of these fairly interesting. So one that I saw that was really interesting to me was Ibanez's Yvette Young model. Yvette Young from Covet is a very clever guitarist. Have you seen Covet before? Seen Yvette Young?
Yeah, I know of those humans.
Yeah. So human is a very loose term, because I'm not sure that she is. Like, she uses real low gain stuff, does a lot of tapping, a lot of real complex stuff. And I watch her playing and I'm like, how are you doing this? She's very impressive.
Yeah. The clarity of how she plays is like insane, because there's no gain.
Yeah.
That's like masking things here.
But the thing that really...
I don't even know, is Jared... I was going to say, is Jared Dines' guitar, did that make the list?
I don't know if it did. Wasn't that just... Was Jared's a Gibson, or was that a Music Man? I can't remember.
It was an Ernie Ball Music Man,
Music Man, yeah. Because there were quite a few Music Mans this year, I think. I don't think Fluff had a signature, but he was waving one around for a while. Let's have a look. Yeah, but there've been so many this year that's probably why it didn't make the list. Like, the one that I really wanted to cover was the new Ibanez PIA, the new Steve Vai model, because he's used the gem now for something like 30 years, and it's not a gem. What?
Yeah.
So that's a big...
It's hard to get him to change. Getting him on board with anything like that has got to be a feat and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen into like rig rundowns with Steve Vai at his house, and he literally completely off topic says, "Oh, they keep sending me gems. I just put them on the wall. I don't even use them." And so, yeah, I mean, to change... So there's not even the classic monkey grip anymore. It's got this kind of petal grip. It's a very pretty guitar. But apparently it's all been changed to be more dynamic. And I really would hope it's dynamic. Did you see the price?
It's only $900, I think, right?
No. $4,666 for the PIA.
Oh, I must have been looking at a different guitar then. Oh, yeah. I was looking at the wrong one. My bad. Oh, okay, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, so this is going to be the custom shop, all handmade. I would hope so.
Here
for that
it is.
price. And yeah, PIA. Pia is actually the name of Steve's wife, so that can't be a coincidence there. He's dedicated the name of his new range to his wife. I thought that was rather sweet.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, and he's got a few colours: gold and green and pink, and petals. So I wonder how much input his wife had. Pink and petals and that kind of thing.
Yeah, me too.
Although he is typically very flamboyant and very floral as a guitarist, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was all his design, but we'll know further down the road. I'm sure he'll do a ton of interviews on the subject. He's one of the more talkative guitarists in the YouTube space, that's for sure.
Somebody needs to do the talking.
Yeah. I was really happy that Nita Strauss got an Ibanez custom shop signature, as well as Yvette Young, because it's good to see female guitarists getting more recognition. I think it definitely needs to be said that female guitarists don't quite get enough recognition at the moment, and I'm really happy to see more and more of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's great to see, because it's so hard for them to even get to the point, where they'd even be considered for, getting a signature guitar, let alone closing the deal and making it happen. So it's always fantastic. The more that we can, I guess, we're white dudes, but the less white dudes in power that are making decisions.
Yes,
I think is tremendously helpful to kind of breaking down a lot of these barriers that unfortunately exist in regards to women and people of color that are trying to do their own stuff. So it's always Yvette Young's been, I don't know Nita Strauss. I know of her, but I can't I just literally have seen the name in articles,
Right.
But seeing Yvette Young's journey in the last 4 years has been just absolutely incredible.
It's been great. I mean, Nita, to give you a little background, she's played with Alice Cooper, she's played with all sorts of people, but not as oh, look, a female guitarist. She is genuinely that good that she can hang with the bands that she's with, and she's a really impressive player. And so it's more than overdue, really, that she's due this signature model, because she can really play.
No, absolutely no doubt there.
Yeah, but one of the reasons it's exciting for me is I have a very young daughter at the moment. She's a year and a half old. And I'm a guitar nerd anyway, so it almost doesn't affect me, but generally speaking, if a girl was growing up in modern society and said, I want to be a guitarist, I think the whole kind of friends and family thing would be, oh, okay, that's weird. Rather than, yeah, great, go for it, which is what, the male teens get. And I think that the more and more that we see these things that light the way, where my daughter or even girls that are 10 years older than that can go, look, Nita Strauss, that's a woman on that poster, or Yvette Young, that's a woman on that poster. I want that. I think that's really, really powerful in changing the tide.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. It's all, once you know that it's possible, it makes it that much more believable. And we're slowly, I'm mostly just doing this because I'm cold, but we're slowly working our way towards there. Yeah, I'm not doing this because I'm mad. Just I'm going to keep my arms self-contained inside of them for warmth and self-preservation.
Just subtly repping that File Pass logo there. Oh, don't worry, I've gone back to main camera. We can see it.
Oh, good.
Until I saw a picture of you in that File Pass hoodie, I hadn't heard of it. Do you want to tell me what that is?
Yeah, man. It's actually a friend of mine's company. It's I think it might be showing up reverse. I actually closed the live stream window for now just to make just to not burden my internet. But it says file sharing built for recording studios. So what it is it's a very streamlined way to work with. If you're an audio engineer, like working in, even if you're a producer, mixer, recording engineer, or if you're doing all of them, mastering engineer, it's just a much more efficient and kind of clean way to work than Dropbox for sending all those files back and forth. And it's been super helpful for me. I mean, I'm not wearing it. I'm wearing it because like I'm his friend. Like I'm a paying customer. It's not like I'm being given anything.
Yeah.
I pay to use the service because I like it and it's valuable to me. But it just kind of, I don't even quite know. It's just everything's a lot cleaner. You can do a few more functionalities that kind of exist in Dropbox, don't exist in Google Drive, and WeTransfer is like a joke. So, Dropbox sounds terrible. Like you can upload a wave and it'll stream back in a wave. So you can stream high quality audio and there's zero, crunching down of the sound at all. You can actually create a paywall for customers within FilePass. So you can have the files there, but they can't download them until they've paid. And there can be a pay button in the corner. So then they can go ahead and pay internally and then download their files once they're done. So there's like a lot of these processes that are super optimized because it's niche for specifically us. This isn't anything like Dropbox doesn't give a shit about us. We don't make their money. They make money like holding all the files for Colgate and Kroger.
Yeah,
but that's what
I'll definitely be checking this out because there are things there that I hadn't thought of before. Like I've always been reticent to send files to clients because they'll just take them and run. But then if it is something like SoundCloud, it sounds terrible. But having something like a pay function inside, that's very clever.
Yeah. It makes it super simple. Like, and then what's nice too is then there's no weird hostage situation.
Yeah.
About payment because it's just like, oh yeah, you got to pay it through FilePass and then your files are already like they're there. It kind of takes the stress off of you or those conversations that we've all had.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, unfortunately, I actually need to be paid first. The files are ready, but like you can't see them. I don't think stuff like that is as much an issue, with some people, but it just takes, what I like is the fact that it takes responsibility for my business off of me. And it's now kind of like FilePass's fault. Where it's like, oh, that's just how I do it within the software. It's no longer like, oh, John, they text me the mix note and it's like, oh no, like I laid it out in that business email intro about FilePass. Everything needs to go through there. So, I just can't, like, if you can put that in FilePass, then we're perfect. But I can't take it in a text form. I'm going to forget. So, like, really trying to eliminate any friction. And in the end, it saves you time. If they've all bookmarked the FilePass link, there's one place they go. There's no, like, question about when there's a new mix, like, where it is. It's just kind of like a lot of really simple stuff that makes the process simpler. And we all need a little more simplicity in our life because dealing with text and DMs and phone calls and even the email, I used to try to do it all centralized through email, man. It was still a nightmare because then you're sending them to Dropbox and somebody's Dropbox is full or they can't log into their account. And Google Drive, there's no note feature. And I've tried doing the Google Doc note thing. And that was just an absolute nightmare. And it's like, you try it all and nobody got a thing. And that's the other thing too. All right, that's it. And then I'm going to stop being an ad for FilePass. What I love is the fact that they don't have to sign up for anything. Like literally just click the link and there's your songs. You don't need an account. You don't need anything. So that was a big thing. We talked about that is like making it so the client, like our clients, like the artists have zero friction. They're not entering any personal information. They don't have to like nothing like that. It's just, they just arrive, listen, and then they leave. There's no like storage space problems. There's no my
barrier.
app doesn't work. No barrier. Just let them go in, listen to the damn song, leave their notes, get out of there. So that's what I've really, really liked about using this. And that's why I'm wearing this. He gave this to me at NAMM.
Yeah,
so
I'm definitely going to check that out because at first I was like, oh, I've already got Dropbox, but now just from saying that to me, I'm in. I'm interested.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell him I'm going to have to charge him about $40, and I'm going to say, look for Hot Pole Studios signing up, bro. Give me commish 8%.
Yeah, you'll see him coming. Oh yes. Right, so quickly, few things in chat. Ladies and gentlemen watching live, if you've got any questions for me and John especially, because he's not here every week and I am, so if there's anything that's focused on John, who is very much a young up-and-coming producer. I say young, I'm guessing you're younger than I am, because I'm kind of old. But
I'm 25. So.
Yeah, I'm old. So, if you've got any questions for John, get them in chat now. So in the meantime, let's have a look at what we've already got here. So Dr. Nerd says, because we were talking about Steve Vai, Colin from CS Guitars got an interview with Vai. Looking forward to the release of that. Oh, good God. I mean, if Steve Vai can understand Colin's Scottish accent, that's going to be an interview for the ages. And
dude, I'm friends with a couple Scottish people. That stuff's hard. Like, cutting through that accent, that's no easy feat.
Yeah. I mean, Colin from CS Guitars, he's got quite a thick accent as well. So that's not going to be too easy. Another one from Robin Flink. Oh, it was fun to say hi to you at NAMM, even though it was brief when he was telling all. Yes, so a fan came up and said hi to me, which was weird for me. But he was following, like, Ola England was walking around, and he had, like, a following. It was like Jesus. It was weird. There were 20 or 30 people all tailing him. It was terrifying to see the amount of pull that he has. It was incredible. What a guy.
Yeah. That's Ola, man. He destroys it online.
He's got a certain something about him, hasn't he? And yeah, I mean, I was on the other side of the room when he came to the Two Notes booth, and I saw him straight away because he just, like, 9 foot tall, long blonde hair. And you're just like, is that Ola? Oh, it is. Yeah.
The one and only, man.
Yeah. Question in the chat for us. From Giuliano, I apologize, Giuliano Genuino? That's my best guess. Pronunciation. Apogee Element, best audio interface? Question mark. Antelope better than Apogee? RME interface better? What's our opinion about high-end interfaces? So what's your take on high-end interfaces?
Oh, interesting. Oh, I just noticed it's so cool how the comments show up within the actual frame of OBS.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's unrelated. Okay, so I mean, I'll say this: like, in my experience, you know, again, like my entire career is the other end of this living room. Like, if you've seen any of my YouTube videos, yeah, where my buddy Kyle's doing stuff right now. I've always been of the opinion and had it confirmed throughout the work I've done and all this kind of stuff that the high-end interface for most people when they're discussing it is not the answer to their problems. I would ask, why are you purchasing it? Like, what are you hoping to get out of it? And what, like, why are you going to drop over $1,000 on an interface right now? Because oftentimes if it's like, oh, you know, I can't feel like I'm not monitoring things properly, or, you know, I need like the cleanest mic freeze for my recordings. It's like, well, probably it doesn't seem fun to say this, but your mix might be bad because your mix, you may not be mixing it well, not because the converters for the output on your, you know, speaker outs are like not made of, you know, rare elephant ivory. Like that for me, 9 times out of 10, probably 99 times out of 100 is more the issue than like actually needing it because you're trying to squeeze the next 2% out of your talent. So oftentimes when people at least come to me with that kind of stuff, I'm like, no, I will not answer that question. Because you probably shouldn't be dropping that kind of money on an interface. I think there's like that hierarchy of needs of like, you know, decent monitors, like at least mid-level monitors, maybe like a SonarWorks, treating the reverb tail of your room. Like those kinds of things are really drastic up top. And then lower is like, you know, like the lowest stuff is like mic pre-selection, cables. These do make a difference. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that as far as like what's pivotally going to change what you can ever do in your space, they're on the low end. So like those interfaces serve a purpose and are incredibly high quality, but like, and it's probably not the problem in your stuff. Like it just, I've never had somebody's life change because they got the $2,000 interface and that was the only problem with their mix. Like it just isn't. How about you?
I have a very similar outlook. I've been doing this, 15 years or more. And when I started, I had some real Tascam piece of crap. And then when we decided to become serious about the studio, we were doing a lot of film work, a lot of ADR before I was doing a lot of music recording. And I think we got something by Edirol, which again was terrible by modern standards. But I look back at some of the recordings we did, and they're perfectly fine. And the thing that's improved the most in the studio is probably me rather than the gear. I mean, yep, I've got some nicer equipment now, but like I've got low tier stuff. I've got some Behringer preamps that are in the backup. I've got Audient stuff. I've got the new Arturia audio fuse, which is really nice. I've got a golden channel, as I call it, which is my Slate VMS1 Pre into an RME ADI2 converter, and that's beautiful. But the difference between that and the Behringer stuff is probably about 2%.
Yep.
If the singer was off key, or if the microphone was off axis, or if a wire was faulty, none of that would make any difference between the cheap interface and the really good one. So it really, really, really is about, getting the right artist, the right setup, the right engineering skill, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing about gain staging and that kind of thing. Like there was a big in-depth 10-page article in Sound on Sound a few years ago about the different sound of preamps. And we're talking like vintage, like Neve 1073s and SSLs and all kinds of stuff. And they recorded a piano with the gain staging properly so that everything hit 0 on the meters, which in analog is actually minus 18 in the digital world, right? They all sounded identical. Because when you're not pushing preamps, there shouldn't be a difference. When you're doing it right, when you're engineering properly, everything should be identical. The only reason that like rock engineers prefer stuff like 1073s is they can run them into the red and it doesn't suddenly sound like hell.
Yeah, and then it gets a little flavor, and then that flavor becomes part of their sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, I'm glad you're of the same thought. I didn't know what I was walking into, and I give that whole rant on like, hey, you're wrong. But I'm glad we're on the same page. I see another one from Dr. Nerd. He's said how Rob Chapman talking about upcoming players needing some basic recording skills to help break into the industry. Are you seeing people coming through with more recording skill than in the past? I think he meant in terms of having skills to record themselves at home for demos. I'll jump in first on this because I think we're in an era where like having a bit of an understanding of a lot of different things is really important, especially if we're all going to do stuff on our own.
Yeah.
And like, for example, you have video skills, graphic skills, business skills.
Yep.
You've got, and I'm trying to think of things that are outside of your main thing. So I'm not going to say audio, like obviously the main skill, but like, you know how to do graphics and video, you know how to do some, like maybe digital illustration work. You might understand you have to understand some marketing thing. You have to understand how to conduct a business, how to do billing and invoicing and balancing a checkbook, like all these different things, how to manage projects, like, having all these things, even though you may not be like king of graphics, like you know how to make a thing that looks and feels a certain kind of way. And I think that just helps you in business. Because then, when you want to go big, you can at least have like that thing, you hand that to them and then they take it to the next level. And I feel like that's what's happening for recording and musicians is being completely illiterate with recording is so immobilizing.
Yeah.
Like you can't do anything almost, like, because then you're just doing it onto your phone, but just to be able to turn on a click, sing into a $40 USB mic, and then play MIDI of the crappiest GarageBand piano is still super, super helpful for communicating with your members, communicating with the producer, just communicating in general, sketching out an idea and remembering it. Like, it's just the kind of thing that in this era makes a lot of sense to have under your belt. So, I mean, I would super, super recommend that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny because I'm in my mid-30s now, and when I started, digital recording at home wasn't really an option, and I really, really wish that it was. I had a 4-track cassette recorder, and I would record band practices on that, and then I'd go home and I'd record demos on that, and they sounded pretty bad, but the fact that I had them meant that the band that I was in, where we were improving way faster than anybody that we knew. And not just in terms of like sitting on your own and practicing in your bedroom, but I mean, how many bands have you been in at 13 years old, 14 years old, where you quote unquote practice, and then you go home and then a week later you come back and nothing's changed and nobody remembers how the song goes and all that kind of stuff. And having even something half properly recorded means that suddenly you can have a proper arrangement. And then now the skill set that you can have for free, or at least like if you've got a phone, which everybody's got a phone, you can do some world-changing things. And even if it's just basic, having something on social media, if you don't have a recording, you are nobody. That's the other thing. Like, if you don't have a video on social media, you are nobody. You don't have to have a good video to start off with, but you have to have something. But then the better it can be, the more you'll stand out from everybody. Because if you're in a band and you're all 15 and you've got a half-decent looking video with a half-decent sounding track, you can bet that all your friends are going to tell their friends. And that's how it spreads. Whereas, like, 1 million kids are going to have some sort of sound now. And if you listen to it for 10 seconds and go, ugh, or if you listen to someone else's and go, that's okay. That can be the difference. We're not talking, like, Hollywood quality here. But if you know half of anything about engineering, you can get a half well-recorded song with almost no gear. So it's Dude, what makes you stand out now.
It's incredible. Like, I'm really excited about the fact that that's the status quo. I think then what happens is that then it leaves it just up to work. Like, who wants to work hard we have every tool we could ever need now. Who's going to learn them? Who's going to take the time? Who's going to, like, be malleable? Who can figure it out? Because there's no excuse to not, like, at least have a little something of the skills adjacent to yours at this point. And that's what I'm really, really excited about for the future.
The future's going to be awesome. One last question before we go then, John, and this is one I always like to ask people. Music production, Mac or PC?
I don't want to start a war. No, I'm a Mac man. I tried to leave the Mac verse, and then a year later I came back.
That's interesting. See,
are you on PC or Mac right now?
I am on PC, but I'm relatively agnostic. Like, what the conclusion that I've come to, because I'm not a Logic guy, I use Reaper and I use a little bit of Pro Tools, and they're, to me, identical on Mac and PC. If someone sat me down in front of a Mac that had all the plugins I use and the software I use and said, go, I'd be like, okay. And if someone sat me down in front of a PC that had the same setup, I don't think it'd be any different. Having said that, I've been a nerd forever and I build my own computers, and that's something I enjoy doing. And so for me, actually having my own custom rig, I much prefer to go the PC route because I can just do that. I can just choose bits and build bits.
Hackintosh. That's what I got, baby.
Funnily enough, I mean, if someone suggests that on my channel, I shoot it down super fast. I think Hackintosh is the worst way to go. Because they're so unstable, and one small update can kill the whole thing. Because it's not officially supported and it's technically illegal, you're on a knife edge all the time. And while it works great. But then you change one thing and the whole thing can come crashing down. And as professionals, we can't have that. We need to be on all the time. We need reliable. We need a 24/7 operation. Someone sends me a message at 2 a.m. and says, I need a mix change now. If I turn my Hackintosh on and some update needs doing that bricks the system for a day, that's not doable. That's not tenable. Whereas a real Mac or a real PC, either is fine for me.
That makes total sense. I definitely wouldn't disagree. I think I'm fortunate that I paid some. I didn't build it, not gonna lie. I paid somebody else to build it, and it's been incredibly stable. Like I've had like a few hours of a problem in the last 2.5, 3 years.
Oh, it's good.
Maybe I've had a really positive experience for a Hackintosh user because I didn't make it.
Yeah, quite possibly. I've heard so many horror stories, and I've really looked into it as well. At first I didn't say I'm never going to do this, but some of the tutorials and things that I was walking down to try and have a look at this sort of situation, it was like, well, if you don't have this, it'll crash. If you have this, it'll crash. If you change this, it'll crash. And I was like, I can't be having these crashes. I got away from cheap PC building because cheap PCs are what make the crashes happen and give the expensive PCs a bad name. And so, I thought, you know what? For this reason, I'm out.
Hey, all good. As long we're both out there getting our stuff done, and that's all that matters.
Well, that's it. If it works for you, it works for you, and good on you, man. So, on that positive note, I think it's time that we called the stream because it's about a 60-minute window, and so it's time
We've gone over.
to go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we've gone just a little over, so I think that's a good time. We've got another couple of things in chat, but unfortunately that's the end of our time.
You got to get to sleep, homie. It's late over there.
Oh, it's not too bad. It's 9:15. I've got to now file my accounts. Joy. Yeah, there's one wonderful thing to one horrible thing. That sounds like my evening in a nutshell.
Well, I'm glad I could be the wonderful thing, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate your time and, being here.
And thank you for coming on the show and taking an hour out of your time. Ladies and gentlemen, John McLucas, check out his YouTube channel. Go and follow him. Give him a subscribe. He's making some great content and growing very, very fast. So, yeah, check that out. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This has been the Hot Pole Position. We'll see you same bat time, same bat channel, 8 p.m. UK next Thursday. See you later, guys.
Did it happen?
We're on the outro screen.
Okay, good. Yeah. Because I'm watching the live stream, but, the